everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live, Maximizing Your Tax Refund. My name is Nikki Wetzel. I'm the Director of Communications and Advancement here at Prosperity Connection, and I am joined by our Director of Coaching, Robert Nelson. I'm going to give him a chance to introduce himself in just a second. But yes, welcome. If you've been with us before, you know that the comment section is open. Please ask any and all questions. Like I said, we're going to talk about maximizing your tax refund today. So assuming that you have gotten a tax refund, we are hopefully going to give you a wealth of ideas for what you might be able to do with that in some different buckets, different budgets, different lifestyles. So like I said, pop questions in the chat and we will get started. So first of all, Robert, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? How long have you been with PC? You've been in a couple different roles here. Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. First off, what's up, everybody? How you doing? I'm Robert Nelson. I'm the Director of Coaching here at Prosperity Connection. I've been here since 2017, so a very long time. A lot of my time was spent as one of our financial coaches, and in 2020, I was promoted to Director of Coaching, and I've been in this role ever since, which the coaching clients to now coaching coaches. And I help them be the best coaches they can be for our organization, to be the best coaches they can for our clients.
Awesome. I already see Otis and Tulani have joined us. Hi, Otis.
What's up, Otis?
So glad you got that PS5. I saw the picture. That's awesome. So yes, let's go ahead and jump in. So like I said, we're just talking about like three different buckets here. So when I think of what people might want to use their tax refund on, one of the first things I think about is debt.
Absolutely.
So big picture, talk through that, how we might prioritize, how we might choose which debts to pay off. What ideas do you have, Mr. Director?
So when it comes to debt, first of all, when we're talking in the sense of tax refund, it is a few different variables that go into this. So please, you have to take this in regards to your own situation. But when we're thinking about obviously the amount you receive back, the debt load you have, I try to think of what's going to make the rest of this year easier. So thinking in a matter of, if I have a loan, let's say a car loan, and it has a 6% interest rate, but I have a payday loan with 150% interest rate, what's going to be the most feasible to put money towards? A lot of people like to dig into, oh, I owe more on the auto loan, let me knock that out. First and foremost, if you have a payday loan, please come talk to one of our financial coaches.
Yes, please.
To help you relieve some of that debt and potentially get rid of that out of your life altogether. But for the sake of conversation in this scenario, we'll use it just to play around with some numbers. If you have a $500 payday loan, it may be helpful in the long run because of that high interest rate to get rid of that, be able to pay that off with your taxes. And that may be, six, 700, however much, depending on how long you've had it, to knock that out and get rid of and be done. But then that now frees up money that you can use to accelerate your car loan payments. If you don't want to accelerate your car loan payments, maybe you can put that excess money towards savings. Or if you feel like I've been living check to check every month, maybe some of that money can go towards your spending expenses so you have a little bit more breathing room in your budget. So I think first and foremost, understanding what your debt load is, right? Going into it. So that may be just listing out all your debts, talking with a financial coach to get a handle on that. But the goal is to do this before, if not at the moment of receiving your taxes, because I've been in the predicament several times where as soon as the tax money hit my account, I had very good intentions, and those intentions go out the window if I don't have a plan prior to. So that's on some of the ways we can help with that.
Yeah. So debt really maybe looking at interest rates more than total debt. Because I know you mentioned 150% on a payday loan, but from what I remember, he might be being a little bit conservative.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like the average interest rate on a payday loan here in Missouri is almost 600%.
Yeah, it's north of 500.
Yeah. And yes, you're hearing me correct, 600%. So you might be paying a few $100s every couple of weeks on something like that. So not just, I love that, not just looking at total debt amount, but that interest rate. And again, that is absolutely one of the things that our coaches are here for, to help you can make that list, can help you look through that and make the right choice there. Perfect. So any last things about debt before we move on?
Um, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave
Okay.
it there. I
If
was
you have
gonna add a
questions,
little
put
more.
them
I'm gonna
in.
leave it there.
Yep, I'll say it again. We welcome and want questions. We appreciate them. So please pop whatever you need in there. All right. So the second big bucket that I think of after debt would probably be savings. Whether that's just, I want to build up an emergency fund, I want to have a savings account, or I might be saving for something specific. I think savings is probably another pretty common goal. So why don't you walk us through what that might look like with your tax refund?
Absolutely. So when saving with your taxes, just like with debt payment, you want to think about your situation as a whole. But one of the things I always encourage people to do, one of two things. If let's say we're looking at your income, your monthly expenses, and we determine, okay, you have enough money for the lifestyle you have. It's just a matter of creating a rhythm and getting in tune with it and continue to move. Then that may just be, okay, we need to create a space where you can save monthly. We can use your taxes to do that for you. So one thing I do, not only for myself, so I'm gonna be a little bit transparent with you all. I'm gonna give you some of my personal things that I actually do in my life, but I also do this with clients as well, where I tell them, well, let's look at something that's taking money from you monthly, and let's see if we can eliminate that through your taxes. So maybe cutting down how much you throw into an actual savings account in that moment. But if we look at the reality of the situation, most people, especially when I see get taxed, if they're getting 3, 4, 5,000, you name it, north of 3,000. Most people try to put 2,000, 3,000 in their savings account, and they'll say, okay, well, I'm putting it there for emergencies for the year. Then what happens to that money throughout the whole year? One of my favorite quotes is, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yep.
So when you got money in your emergency fund, everything is an emergency. Well, I had to go in that money because my grandma needed had to go in that money because I had to help my brother, or I had to pay for this, had to, and eventually you turn around, that money is gone. So instead of creating an instant nest egg, which is not a horrible thing, I don't want to make it sound like I'm painting that to be bad. That's not the case at all. It's still a good thing to have, just being realistic. So instead of creating that giant nest egg, maybe taking some of that money to eliminate small things. So for instance, excuse me, I have a few things within my budget that would technically be a monthly expense that I turn into an annual expense by paying for it with taxes. So I have actually me and Nikki dogs are sisters. We have a cockapoo, cocker spaniel poodle, and unfortunately, little spoiled cockapoo, she has to get groomed every 6 weeks, 5 weeks, however often.
Yep.
I plan her grooming out of our taxes. So that way, whenever she needs to go to the groomers, she has her own bucket of money for groomers that was already paid for, that I don't have to worry about coming out of my monthly expenses. Then my family, we also have a subscription to our local rec center where we can use like the aquatic centers and gym and basketball courts, you name whatever they got in there, we get to use for free throughout the year. And we pay for that fee out of our taxes, so we don't have to pay for that monthly. So I eliminate a few of those small expenses that then will add up to a lump sum of money that is now freed up in my budget. So having this lump sum of money that's freed up, now I go in and I put that money in a savings account every month. Or you may split it up. So let's say you want a little bit of extra breathing room in your spending, because if some people are like, man, I'm living check to check. I don't want to have to keep, by the time my next check comes, I'm at zero or negative. Maybe add a little bit of cushion to your monthly spending so we're not living check to check and then throwing some money in savings. So just thinking wisely about that and just really understanding what can I eliminate right now that will render me more money in the future. Then from there, you can think about high interest savings account. So if you have a savings account that's giving you a higher interest rate than the average savings, that can render you more interest, which will then go towards your savings. It becomes this domino effect
Yep.
of positive things happening in your life.
Yep. I mean, just personally, a personal example, I know that my like traditional bank savings was paying like 0.01% interest. So you're literally making nothing by that money being in savings. But I found a high yield savings account, very easily Googleable, by the way. I just Googled best high yield savings interest rates. I read through the list of banks and like did some comparisons. I'm a nerd, so I went like a little down the rabbit hole. But I found a bank that like in the moment was paying 1.75 or something like that. So, I mean, I'm not getting rich off of that by any means, but it's also not an investment account that risk is associated with. It's just a place that I keep my emergency savings, and I might make an extra 50, 60, 70 plus bucks a year on it, depending on what the interest rate has ended up at. So I love it, and it works for me. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. So for those of you that have been on a live before, I actually did start at Prosperity Connection as a coach. And when I was coaching, one of the best pieces of advice I heard that then I passed on was, if you want to make sure your savings is protected, or if you're always wondering why your savings is disappearing, one of the first things to look at is if it is directly connected to your checking account. So like I used to bank at US Bank, and my checking and savings were in the exact same account. Do you know how easy it is to move that money back and forth when there's an emergency or when I just want it? So I just literally never had savings because it was just so easy to move it back and forth. So that's when I opened up several years down the road, but that's why we have opened up a high yield savings in a totally separate, this happens to be an online only bank. So it's not impossible to get our money. It's still fairly liquid. I can get it within a couple days, but that little bit of extra time it would take, instead of transferring it instantly, stops me a lot of the time from dipping into something that I probably don't really need to.
Absolutely.
So anyways, my little tidbits. Anything else savings wise? You said you had two things. Did we hit both that you usually tell clients? Find where to save money we might have already talked about both. Oh, Sabrina's on here. Hi, Sabrina.
I will say one thing I always ask people. I say, who do you think in my household gets their hair done the most? And people always pick either my wife or the kids. In actuality, it's the dog. She gets her hair done the absolute most.
It's
she
true.
Gets a little ponytail and everything.
Yeah, Evie gets groomed. So mine's Evie, his is Zuri. And Evie gets groomed, I think, every 8 weeks. And I still need to find a groomer like yours because mine is way too much. But I also have two dogs, so that's fun walking out there. I need to take a page out of your book and plan for that better because it's always rough. That 8 week.
I hated putting the money towards. It's not like the dog care.
Yeah.
She come back all happy, Christy with a ponytail. I'm like, this money didn't come out of your pocket.
Right? They'd love to have you. Anyways, going down a rabbit hole. Anything else savings?
We got.
Okay, perfect. So just as a reminder, I keep seeing new people pop in and out, so welcome. And if you have a question, please pop it in the chat. Yes, we're talking about maximizing your tax refund, but if you hear a comment that we make about debt or about savings that trigger something else and you have a question, like please feel free to pop it in there. Robert is a wealth of information, having spent a lot of time as a coach and now, like he said, coaching the coaches. So please don't hesitate to pop anything in there. Because the last bucket that I really want to hit on is one of my personal favorites. And it's the idea of treating yourself. So what do you think about treating yourself when it comes to your tax return?
This is actually my favorite. So, treating yourself with your taxes. First, you have to acknowledge it is the inevitable. Is a lot of people I've been told in the past, like it's not necessarily verbatim, but like this tax season, I mean business. I'm paying this off. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and then you come in just so gung ho. It's like slow down. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
when we get our taxes, if you're a foodie like me, you gonna want to eat, and you're not gonna want to eat at McDonald's. So let's just keep it real there, and just really be honest with yourself. There's nothing wrong with splurging or doing something nice for yourself or for your family. Where the issue comes into play is when we do that outside of our means. Believe it or not, even when it comes to taxes, there's a such thing as outside of your means. So you have to keep in mind and really plan out your taxes. I often tell clients, budget out your taxes like you would a paycheck. The same process we walk through with a paycheck for clients, where we have them fill out a expense list and a payment schedule. I have once they figure out what they're getting back in taxes, I have them figure out, okay, let's put that into a payment schedule for you, and then let's budget it out like it was a paycheck, because we know you're gonna spend it when it hits your account.
Yep.
Let's make a plan to spend it, and then in that payment schedule, it is the coach's job. Once again, get with a financial coach. It is a coach's job to look through and poke holes in that payment schedule and say, hey, you don't have any money saved on here. Remember last year when your kid threw up and you were off work for a week? So let's put a little money aside for something like that. Or remember this happened last year. So the coaches that'll remind you of that. That coach is also going to say, hey, you didn't put any spending money on here for your tax return. Don't you plan on like spending some money on your family, taking your kids to a trampoline park, or treating yourself to a nice evening, a nice meal? So really being realistic about that. But so understanding what splurging looks like, it's subjective depending on where you are in your journey, and especially when we're talking taxes, because that's not equal amongst people.
Yes.
So yes, spend money on yourself, on your family, on your kids, but also plan for it. In that same vein, you can use it to pre-plan to splurge. Now, this is getting into a little philosophy here, but if we know there are moments in our life that we are going to splurge, I'm gonna give you a perfect example.
Okay.
Birthdays.
Yep.
We know people want things on their birthdays. If we have families with children, they definitely want things on their birthday. Well, some of the splurging now may mean I take my kids to a nice movie and that's it. But then later, they don't know. I set aside a couple $100s for their birthdays already. I set aside $400 or $500 for Christmas already. So pre-planning those splurging as well. So that way it also saves you money in the long run. So that's also another way to
I like
splurge with your tax money.
I like that.
Because we all go, well, not we all, but a lot of folks go into debt
Yes.
around Christmas time.
Yes, and that's part of why I wanted to talk about debt first, because I know I'm going to answer Otis's question while answering this thought too. So Otis asked if we file taxes. The answer is no. Great question. Thank you so much. We are not tax experts, like the filing tax experts, but we did a video, I think that might have been at the end of February,